Good day to you, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. And of course, we do apologize for the late start, but as you know, our city can be confusing sometimes when it comes to heavy traffic. So glad that you stayed tuned to your television stations just to welcome us into your homes for another, what promises to be another very informative program. On this week's program, as you know, I continue to feature persons who have been placed in prominent positions in government, and not only in government. I also took a break and I interviewed two of our awardees recently. Of course, I would have interviewed Comrade Yvonne Herwood Ben and, of course, Mr. Oscar Clark. So today I'm interviewing the third awardee. It is my pleasure to do an interview with Mrs. Supriya Singh-Bodden. Of course, not only as an awardee, but as a person who has done a whole lot of work when it comes to charitable organization, women and children, and of course politics. She has played a prominent role in politics and continues to play a prominent role in politics. Just to give you an idea of the award that Ms. Supriya Singh received on Independence Day, of course, as you know, His Excellency awarded several of our citizens. It's the CCH, the Cacique's Crown of Honor. And just to read a bit about it, she received that award for service of an exceptionally high quality in the field of youth and women's empowerment, community renewal projects, raising awareness nationally and internationally, of course, with the urgent need to address mental health issues, and in the field, as I said before, in the field of politics. Before I introduce Mrs. Supriya Singh-Bodden, let me also tell you that coming up a little later on in today's program, I will be chatting with Mr. Gary Best. As you know, Admiral Gary Best, he has been recently appointed Presidential Advisor on the Environment. So he'll also be dropping by to tell you a bit of his tasks and how he has already started work in his area. Supriya Singh-Bodden, welcome to you, ma'am. It is a pleasure to have you on our program today.
Thank you very much, Malika. Thank you.
All right, fabulous. You're now an awardee. I know in North America, in other countries, it's a very, very big thing. It is not as big as it should be in Guyana as yet, but we still have to get our citizens accustomed to the importance of receiving these national awards. So tell me, how does it feel to be a national awardee, especially knowing that His Excellency has brought it back after so many years of it being gone?
Well, I'm absolutely humbled. I'm very, very, very honored to have been able to receive this award. It came as a total surprise. I have been working and doing what I thought was my duty to my country with the work that I've done, and it just makes me feel that more special, and it gives me a lot more incentive to keep doing the work that I'm doing, because at least that award says that people appreciate the work I'm doing. So yes, it's a big honor, and I think and I will treasure it greatly.
Okay, all right, great. Viewers, I should also tell you that Supriya is also the founder of the Guyana Foundation, which we're going to talk about a little later on in our conversation. Next, our politics, the politics of Guyana. You are known for being a busy bee on the campaign trail, especially in the past for the People's National Congress reform. And I would like to take this opportunity to just let the public know that from the little that I've known about Supriya, she's not only going to champion the cause of the People's National Congress reform or a particular political party that she belongs to, but she's going to champion the cause for all Guyanese, because I know you're a strong believer in national unity. Are you satisfied thus far, even after the elections, with how politics has so far played out in our country?
I want to see more talk about, I want to see more action, rather, towards fostering what it is we all think is right for Guyana, and that is a government of national unity. I know that the president feels very strongly that this is the way he wants to go and he wants to take his government. And I would very much like to see the rancor and the, all of that sort of pitting one race against the other. I would like to see that go away. We have tried it for so many years. It has not worked. And now with all of the pressures that the country faces, we need all hands on deck. And I know that from here on in, every initiative that this government takes, it must have a component where we look to strengthening the unity of the political parties and unity across the country.
After all this, there's still a bad taste left in the mouths of so many, even after the election campaign and so on. After all of this, we've had the APNU AFC coalition, of course, now the government blaming the now opposition, the PPP, and the PPP blaming the then opposition and pulling and tugging. Would you like to see some sort of cooperation, more cooperation between the two? Because thus far, we have not been able to get the government and the opposition to mesh, because the opposition has simply not gone to Parliament. Are you looking forward to bridging that gap?
Absolutely, absolutely. But, it doesn't happen just all of a sudden. We have to work at it at all levels. And it is important, I think, on both sides that people take a responsible position, because when comments start flying around social media that are divisive, when persons get up and make statements that are, not in the best interest of all Guyanese, it doesn't help. Now, two political parties that have been, in opposition, in this type of posture for so long, we have to almost learn now a new set of behavior as to how to go forward together. And the PPP must play a role going forward in Guyana as well. And it has a very responsible role to play. And I think the rancor and the anger and the venom should go away, and we should start talking about working together and building those bridges at every level.
How can we address because this rears, I keep saying, it rears its head at elections time, just before and maybe just after. How can we address the issue of racism?
Difficult question. If we knew that, if we had a quick answer, it would have been done already. But as I said, we are perfectly positioned now. We've come to power in a country where a large percentage of the majority of the people who were of African descent, multicultural, really voted this government in. So that says something about the maturity of the nation and its readiness to work together, because clearly for us to have won the election, there must have been some sort of crossover votes at that time. So that's a very healthy signal from where I sit. And I think what we need to do now is to try to capitalize on that and make every effort in every ministry and at every level to forge linkages with the opposition so that we address issues in Guyana on a common platform. If the leaders can show that there is unity and there's talk about unity and our words and our actions are meshing, I think that will trickle down to the masses of the population, But if they're in their villages seeing the politicians continuing the same old fight, one has changed a shoe to the other foot, we're not going to get there. So I think the leaders really have to understand the role that they play here, and know right now. I think more importantly than ever, we're facing such a serious issue with the border issue with Venezuela, and our which is very serious, and this calls for all hands on deck at this point. And I know that members of the opposition, they have worked hard. They have been in this country. They've served their time and so on and so forth, and I see that we have a lot of room for all of us to play a part in the building of this country and the rebuilding of this country. Yeah.
Can we look forward to seeing, because I know you have a lot of admirers and there are a lot of young people out there, especially young women, who look up to Supriya. And of course, this is all before we eventually get to the Guyana Foundation. But for now, can we see more of an involvement from Supriya Singh-Bodden when it comes to what it be at government level or at just a normal political level? Because politics doesn't stop here. I mean, you and I, we were discussing some things recently, and you even reminded me that, look, 2020 will be another election. So can we see you contributing more to what it be at government level or at the level of political activism?
Absolutely. I will be totally engaged, as I have been engaged since the election at many levels, albeit not in front of the cameras and assuming large portfolios and things like that. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and I think each of us have a part to play. Mine will unfold.
Oh, it will unfold.
It will unfold. But trust me, the energy that I have and the things that I spoke of on the platform, I didn't say it to just win an election. I said it because I believe that is where my country should go. And if I felt that the government in which I sit is not going down that road, I will speak out. If I feel that the opposition is being unfair, I will speak out, because I strongly feel that we have to begin to speak with one voice. And so I will maintain my position, and I will continue to work in the interest of Guyana. And as I said, many of the initiatives that I've already embarked on will unfold over the coming months.
Happy you repeated that. Even before we talk about your role and the fact that you founded the Guyana Foundation and so on, I'm happy you said that your role will, in terms of politics and in terms of the government, will unfold eventually. What message would you like to carry to, especially our ordinary citizens, and even some of our own activists? When I say our, in this case, I mean APNU, AFC, and of course, extendedly WPA and PNC and so on. What do you say to some of our activists and supporters who feel a sort of on the side right now, that they're not as involved as they should have been asked to be or expect to be? What do you say to them right now?
I would say to them, have patience. We have a country to rebuild. Every single one of us have a role to play. When you assume office, as this government have just recently done, the task of trying to just take over the ministries and the infrastructure of government and all of the instruments of government, it's a daunting task. It takes time. So where you may be waiting for a phone call from someone who you thought would call you as soon as they won the election, and that phone call is not coming, and you're thinking, oh, well, they forgot me. No, they haven't forgotten you. They haven't forgotten you. Right now, we need to get our house in order. We need to get systems in place that make sure that there's total accountability, transparency, that we have a machinery that is well-oiled and ready to do the business of government. And that takes time. That takes time. So I would say that to all of the people who may be feeling, oh my gosh, I gave out 5,000 leaflets in the hot sun and nobody, and they're going to be on both sides of the equation, both the opposition and from our side, there'll be people feeling that way. And I would say have patience and give us a little chance to get on our feet, get this ship sort of well sort of positioned, and their time will come. And I think the other thing that I would like to say to people is that when we go through this transition, it's extremely easy to slip off the tracks and to feel, we've got a change of government, but they're not doing things fast enough, or they didn't, I didn't get this or get that or whatever. And then you start listening to a lot of the divisive talk and allowing yourself to go back down that road where we were. And I'm of the view that we, as a nation, we've made a significant stride to come to this election and to, vote in a government of so many different parties. It's a big event that we accomplish as a nation, and I think we should protect that and let it be strengthened so that we don't fall back into the same old ways, where you lump everything onto the PNC and the PPP and we keep going down the road with the same talk all the time. Okay. Because truthfully, that's not how it is. You know that and I know that it's not just that. There's so much more going on behind the scenes, and there's room for all Guyanese to grow and to flourish,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's now take a break from the seriousness of politics and the government and so on. I mean, not that the Guyana Foundation is not serious business, but it's a little lighter.
Yeah.
Tell Guyana about the Guyana Foundation that you founded.
Okay, in 2013, I decided to form this nonprofit organization called the Guyana Foundation. And at that time, I was extremely concerned about the state of the country in general. And I would be the first to admit that I took on a lot more than I could chew, because the goals of the Guyana Foundation were very wide. We started off with women's empowerment projects, youth empowerment projects. When we went into the villages to do these projects, that is to train people to do different skills and so on, we realized that, there were no bridges to cross for the kids, there was no toilet facilities at the school, there was no water supply for the school kids. So what happened is that we extended it to community renewal, and we ended up fixing bridges, building ovens, doing water systems for different communities. And so it kind of like mushroomed into that. And then while we were going along with those projects and going across the country, I personally ran into 3 situations where people that I was working with committed suicide. And I said, you know what, the Guyana Foundation has to take this on board as well. And we didn't quite know how we would do it, but we wanted to raise awareness about the suicide crisis and to give it international exposure and so on. I tried to work with the government of the day, and unfortunately I didn't get very far. Okay. So I took it upon myself to raise funds internationally through a very large network that I have abroad to do these projects. And I was not given any kind of charitable status for the organization. So I used to have to bring things in and then fundraise for the duty to pay for it to then distribute it. And so that kind of left me a little bit I couldn't expand the organization as much.
If I could just interject here before you go on. Have you yet approached current government for assistance in terms of the organization's growth and so on?
Well, actually, I am the happiest camper, because about a few days ago I got a letter from the Minister of Finance giving Guyana Foundation charitable status.
Okay.
That says that I can now use my energies to raise donations, funds. We can bring in clothing, we can bring in stationery supplies, we can help in so many ways, right? And take it directly to the communities. The difference about the Guyana Foundation is that once people engage us, they're given what I suppose the best way to describe it is almost like a tracking number. So if you give me $100 or one computer or something, your project has a number allocated to it.
Okay.
That number is then lodged, whereby if you came to our organization, you can see exactly where it went to. Okay. So that there's total accountability of how funds are spent, where it goes, and you can actually, if you live out overseas and you make this donation, you can come to Guyana and actually go to the village where your donation made a difference, So I've tried to make the organization, we're now well, our administratively, we're well set. And now that we have our charitable status, I'm going to push it much, much further, because I believe that the government has its hands full. However, not all the needs of the country can be met immediately. They won't have the resources and everything, at the drop of a hat to fix a lot of these problems. So if the foundation can assist by, if it is to provide, shoes, clothing, whatever, for a whole village in the Rupununi or somewhere, we should go do it. Or if it is that we should set up a computer lab and make sure that we should do it. And so that's now my focus, and Now, when you get me talking about this foundation, I get...
I realize it, but I'm enjoying it, and I know the public is too.
I'm getting totally sidetracked now. But with regard to the mental health issue, I will be meeting the Minister of Health shortly this week. And what we're going to do with that issue is we're going to give him all of the studies we commissioned, because we commissioned studies through the University of Maastricht in Amsterdam and in Holland. And we did some work through the University of Toronto. So we have all these studies of why people commit suicide in Guyana. And we commissioned and got those things done for the foundation. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is meet with the minister and hand a lot of that over to him. And say to him, look, we stand ready to assist in whichever way we can. And we're also willing to, if you would like other studies done, or if you would like assistance in, counseling through the school system and getting mental health counselors from within and without to come to Guyana to help with that, we're going to stand ready.
So it's more than just Guyana Foundation gathering stuff or receiving donations or having fundraisers and just giving out stuff to people.
Totally.
It's a full package.
Totally, because even with the mental health thing, we were able to network with professionals in Toronto, and they came here and we held seminars in Berbice and Georgetown, and they said to me, how many people do you think will attend? I said, I have absolutely no idea, because we'll hold the seminars and let's see what happens. And when we showed up in Berbice, we had about 300 people. And we didn't even expect that there would be that. I mean, there were policemen, policewomen, head teachers, because they were all concerned, at some point in time, this whole suicide stuff had touched them, and they wanted to know, well, what is it that we're doing wrong, or what can we learn, or how can we solve it? What do we say to a student that appears to be, or what are the signs of a potentially, mentally ill person? Yeah. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but I feel now that I feel a bit energized, because the Minister of Health has said to me, I am absolutely standing ready to work to work with you, and for you to work with me, and see how best we can collaborate on this matter. So that is on the cards.
Okay, great. Yeah. Supriya, before I have to begin to wrap up and to let you go, you have talked a lot about the Guyana Foundation, what it intends to achieve and so on, and your progress. And I am happy that, it is making progress, and that Guyanese and our communities and so on would eventually benefit. I'd like your take on the issue of women being abused, suppressed, because I tell people abuse committed on women is not only if a man takes something and hits her or takes his hand and cuffs her. It comes in so many ways. Does the organization have any plans to specifically, because you did talk about suicide and so on, but to specifically address the plight of our women in the nation?
Truthfully, we had not gone to the point where we would deal with abuse, because there were a lot of other organizations dealing with it. But I would be very open, and I have talked to the rape group and others. I would be very happy to use my network in whatever way I can to assist, because honestly, if we're to rebuild this country, even if we put our best foot forward, and this economy became buoyant, and there were jobs, and everybody's like on track, the health of the nation is very important. The families of the nation are very important. And if you have dysfunctional families with all sorts of problems like that, it will inhibit the way they can and how productive they can be. So, a lot of the times we sweep those issues under the carpet because it's unpleasant. But in many countries of the world, big corporations and large companies, they actually have counselors on staff to help staff with issues like that, So I think that at a governmental level, I'm going to push as well to say to these ministries as they interface with the different entities across the country, look, counseling is not a bad word. Let us try and see how best we can set up counseling centers that are discreet, that would allow people to get more access, not just one organization, but countrywide, Because if you're in Essequibo Coast suffering terrible domestic abuse, you can't even find the passage to come on the bus and the boat all the way to Georgetown, wherever this center is. You forget it. You just bear it, And so, I think that we have to instill in this government that we must put a lot of emphasis on our mental health and counseling and domestic abuse and these things to create a healthy nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well said. I know the women of our nation appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to take this opportunity. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up our discussion now.
Yeah.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for coming on our program. I wish the Guyana Foundation the best. I wish, again, congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
I wish Supriya Singh-Bodden the best. And of course, yes, I know we look forward to seeing your role and whatever else you're going to do, whether it be at government or political level or at the level of the Guyana Foundation. We look forward to seeing that role unfold, ma'am.
I just want everybody to stay focused. I want everybody to think unity, no matter what color you are, creed, political party, whatever. Just put our shoulders to the wheel and don't let hate and division, those are things, let's move on from that and let's try to work together. I'm going to do all that I can, and I'm just beseeching everybody out there to stay on track and don't fall off the rails and give us a little time, and we will move this ship forward.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well said. Viewers, of course, Ms. Supriya Singh-Bodden. I was chatting with her, CCH Awardee. I will now show you a clip of, as you know, Mrs. Walda Lawrence, the Minister of Social Protection. She has been very, very busy. Not that the other ministers haven't been busy, but she has been doing a lot of work on the ground, and it's important that I continue to highlight the work of this particular ministry. Of course, I was just talking with Supriya, and she also acknowledged the fact that so much needs to be done for our people. It's about, this government, even before it became government. His Excellency President David Granger would have always talked about the importance of protecting Guyana's most important resource, which is our human resources. And what Minister Walda Lawrence would have been doing is just going around to various communities and so on in whatever way that she can to see what the position is really, whether it be senior citizens, women, or children. So I'll show you this clip. Recently, she took a tour of the Hugo Chavez Rehabilitation Center, and she did some other work. So take a look at this clip, and when we come back, I hope to be chatting with the Presidential Advisor on the Environment, Mr. Gary Best. Stay tuned. We have two persons over here. Please that. Ms. Totara, she's the admin assistant.
Hi, Mr. Brown. Nice to meet you.
We were supposed to have the original thing had a doctor. You're supposed to have a doctor resident here, but whatever.
All right, nice to meet you. Okay? Okay. All right, you take care.
Yes. Why are you crying?
I'd like to see the minister. Okay. I'm glad. I'm very happy. All right. And this is for 8 person?
We are resident here. Can't get no working activity. Very frustrate anyone because you come here, you ain't got no act, just eat, sleep, and them thing.
Right? Bush.
Right? And you do your little chores in the yard, no problem. But when you finish now, it's eat, sleep, right? You got to get something for.
We going back to baby stage, boy.
No, yeah,
But I understand what you say. You understand me?
No,
I understand what
occupy
you
your
say.
time, right?
I do agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you.
Because that's why in the previous administration, why if you check the records here, there's a lot of guys.
I have a husband, stop holding on.
Okay. No, they jump the fence and get away. Right? They get away because nothing for occupy your time.
And
because
terrible thing to waste.
right? You do a little chores in the yard, no problem. When you finish now with bed, eat and sleep and go to toilet and bed. What you gonna do? You get frustrated.
Yeah.
Right? You get frustrated in life. It's just eat, sleep, and then the administrator, even though no you got TV up, see, bring it down,
All right.
bring it down,
I get your
and
point.
let me utilize it for
I get your
occupy.
point.
You understand?
I get
Because
your point.
there's no way resident here
Sweet
you
boy,
can eat
sweet
and
boy.
sleep. And
Me, you on the same page. I get your point. I already promised a TV.
no, it's not in my.
No, I got your point, and I
Okay.
understand seriously.
Yeah,
I
because-
understand where you're coming
Because
from.
if not, you might find they're bringing people the places there, but you might find people getting away because there's no activity, nothing. You can eat, sleep, and what? Toilet and dead. There's nothing for occupy.
But you know, that's not our intention.
I know.
Our intention is to bring you here and then ensure that we can provide you with the skills and so on. So you learn something,
Now.
and then we try to wean you out of here so you can go on to
Back to the
continue to
society.
live your life,
Right.
but you get a job and,
Well,
you know, you can take care of yourself. You even get a wife, and you continue to live your life.
In the future, right? You could open a little workshop for learn people a little skill. You know, I a trade man, I know me trade, right? But who wants skill? You can learn them a little trade. Let them reinterrogate a country, you know, to go back in society, and reunite with the family, you know, and go back in society and live a life. But why is saying now, bring some, you know, like
A little thing for you.
yeah,
I agree with you.
right?
I agree.
Around, right?
You are right.
Right.
And I'm so sorry, because if I'd met you a couple of years ago, you might have been the administrator here. Because you have vision,
Of course.
all right?
Yeah.
And so I want you to understand, guys, that we have been going around. The ministry is spread across all 10 administrative regions. We haven't gotten out of this region as yet. So we're going from place to place to see for ourselves what is happening. So we don't just sit and plan things outside of you. We want to hear your input. So that's why we're here, so
Another
that
thing,
we can make.
Another thing, we here, right? We are here. What's here? We could get little recreational activity like a basketball court.
I'm a boy.
You know,
Yes.
right, a little activity, you know, a basketball. At least we got a tarmac out there. We could put up a little basketball net.
The person who's doing the washing is saying that they're fetching the water around here. All right. 2 months now. When are we going to get the pipe fixed?
I need some requests to Miss Roberts concerning plumbing, that we have some broken pipes.
But this is
And-
an emergency.
She said we can get it fixed soon.
This is an emergency.
Minister. Well, this is the Hugo Chavez Center, for which I have heard of the many wonderful things that ought to be done here in terms of giving people a second chance in life. And not particularly young persons, but persons of all ages. It is not economical presently, but what I have found out is that no mechanism is in place to ensure that the center is fed with the clients. And so that is what we were hammering out this morning at the ministry with the senior officers. I have been looking to find some contractual arrangement between the Guyana government and the Venezuelan government, and we have not been able to find those documents.
If I may interject, sorry, but persons, the Guyanese populace, they will be wondering, we have the night shelter that is overpopulated, right now overcrowded. And I mean, you have a facility that was built to house over 180 persons, and it only has like about 11 or 17 according to the staff.
Yes.
So what measures will your ministry be looking to implement swiftly so that persons could come to this facility and benefit from all that it has to offer?
Right. This morning we discussed partnering with a few other ministerial agencies, such as the Indigenous Affairs Ministry, the Ministry of Health, and also to work with the persons from the various NGOs. We believe that if we open the number of partners to we will be able to fill the place with persons who really need this type of care. The thing is that the ministry does not have within its structure a psychologist who can evaluate those persons. I mean, we've come here, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, but in speaking to one of the residents who told me that he is the nephew of the Queen of England and he's awaiting his documents to arrive for him to go visit with her so that they can make other plans since he was the one who constructed this place. It tells me that this gentleman needs the kind of help that this institution cannot give him. And you question the evaluation of persons before they arrive here. And so one of the things we're looking at the ministry is very soon, within a couple of days, to have a psychologist on board who can help us to do that evaluation of the persons who come in from the night shelter, some of the residents at the Palms too, and so on, so that we can bring them on here to give them that second chance. Other than that, there is much left to be desired here. Some of the things I don't want to talk about now, but at the end of the month, I'm going to have a big press conference where I'm going to deal with all of that because I want to come back and talk to the staff. The staff is requesting a meeting with me, and I will come back next week and meet with the staff to hear their views and so on. We've heard from the residents that they are here and treated like children. They're put on curfews and so on for 72 days to remain in the compound without leaving. And in the meanwhile, there is nothing there for them to do. These are big people, they have a lot of energy, and we're asking them to get up and eat and then sleep and then get up and eat and sleep again. And the residents themselves are begging for some sort of program which they can utilize their energies and learn a skill and that sort of thing. Okay. So we have a lot of work to do. We cannot continue to have a place like this and have the high overheads and not be able to fulfill the mandate for which it was set up for. I think it's a well-structured compound. The buildings and everything is very nicely laid out. And if we can implement the plan that was set up to ensure that we pass people through a process while giving them a place to stay and so, and reintegrate them into society with their families. And so I believe that it can work. It just leaves up to us now to make it happen.
All right. From the level of the ministry, I know that working in these facilities for some time, because this has been my fourth visit rather. We're going to look a little bit on the aspect of monitoring and evaluation, because most times, when things get out of hand, then the minister comes and they look, but I know that you're relatively new, so, in terms of a more structured monitoring and evaluation mechanism.
Monitoring and evaluation, not only for here, for all the various departments in the ministry. The whole ministry needs to be overhauled. It needs to be restructured. We're working on that, but our biggest issue, even as we think of all these other departments and bringing all these other persons on board, is the fact that the ministry is housed in 4 buildings in Georgetown. And it's very, very hard to manage like that. And so we're really working hard with the Minister of Public Works to get a compound where we can move the ministry into. So not only would we be able to monitor better what is happening, but so that there can be some interdepartmental relationship. And so each department will depend on the next department, and it will be a feed-around process. And so persons who enter the ministry looking for help can be helped. Even if they go to the wrong department, they can be so invited to go to the right department that can take care of their specific needs. And so we're working on that. With regards to centers like these, even the Palms, the children's homes and so on, monitoring and evaluation is something it seems that was never thought of. And so what you have now is not the ideal thing. We have people who have not been trained
in this field. And so what can they give you? And I'm not going to beat up on them because I didn't place them there. And it would be wrong of me to do so, to ask somebody to do something that they're not capable of doing. So what I have to do as we direct the whole structure of the ministry is to ensure that where the necessity exists for a monitoring and evaluation section to be established, that will be done. There are going to be several new departments within the ministry. One is going to be a statistical department where we can have data gathering so that we can build our programs based on data. And it's not just somebody's thought or somebody's idea. It has to be built on something. Our budgets must be program driven, so we know what our objectives are. We know how we are addressing the social issues and where those social issues are. So it's a lot of work we have to do, and so I know, and I have said to the NGOs out there, I know that the ministry cannot do it by itself, and so I'm going to stretch out that hand to the NGOs and the other partners out there to work with me.
Our time has gone today, but we have about 10 more minutes left in today's program. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have to do things a bit different today. First off, let me apologize for Mr. Best's absence. Of course, that's Admiral Gary Best. As you know, he is the Presidential Advisor on the Environment. Now, Mr. Best was earlier called to an emergency meeting with His Excellency, the President, Brigadier David Granger, of course. You know how these things go at a government level. Things happen and we have no control over them. But I promise you, and I'm promising you on Mr. Best's behalf, he will be here, maybe not for next week, but he will be here for one of our upcoming programs, because as some of you would have known that I scheduled my programs, I try to schedule my programs weeks ahead. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to put him in on next week's program, but he will definitely be on the program, and he sends his apologies, and I also apologize on his behalf. What I'm going to do with the remainder of today's program, with the little time that we left with today's program, I know most of you would have been following the issue with the Venezuela decree, the fact that Mr. Nicolas Maduro, of course, the president of Venezuela, he would have issued one decree and then he switched it for another one, basically replacing one with the other. As you know, during the recent CARICOM heads of government meeting, His Excellency President David Granger, of course, put Guyana's position out there, and he was very adamant and very stern and very assertive on Guyana's position and the fact that we will not allow Venezuela or Mr. Maduro himself to bully Guyana. The president made an address to the National Assembly yesterday, to Parliament yesterday. His Excellency was in Parliament yesterday, and he spoke about Venezuela, the old decree and the new decree. So what I will do is give you an opportunity to hear just the first part of His Excellency's presentation yesterday, for those of you who would have missed it. And what I will do in the meantime, of course, I'm going to take some of your calls. I'm not going to take your calls on air. I'm going to take some of your calls off air, because I know many of you at home, you have lots of concerns, and I have not taken your calls in a very long time, in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll open up the phone lines. Of course, I'll be taking these calls off air, and at the same time, let me also promise you, it doesn't mean that our phone lines won't be open on air anymore. In programs coming very soon, they will be open, but the reason I am delaying it is because I know you want to speak on camera, you want to speak on air to persons like maybe His Excellency, the Minister of State, the Prime Minister. So I can promise you I'll have those persons on the program in upcoming programs. So continue to stay tuned and continue to support us. Take a look at His Excellency's presentation yesterday, and in the meantime, I'll take your calls off air. Stay with us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of the House, Honorable Members of the National Assembly, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I have decided to address this assembly on a matter of national importance in accordance with Article 67(1) of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. I wish to bring you abreast with the developments in relation to the decrees that have been issued by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and which have impinged on the exercise of Guyana's sovereignty and our rights to our exclusive economic zone. Mr. Speaker, President Nicolas Maduro Moros of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela reported on the 6th of July that he had replaced Decree number 1787 that purported to exercise sovereignty over the waters it claimed from neighboring states with Decree number 1859. President Maduro told the Venezuelan National Assembly, and I quote, "I have decided to take all the content of this Decree 1787 to the State Council and the Supreme Tribunal of Justice, and in the meantime, taking the doctrinarian constitutional criteria, issue a new decree to supersede it in all of its parts." President Maduro also announced the recall of Venezuela's ambassador to Guyana for consultations. His decision to reduce the Venezuelan embassy staff in Georgetown and his directive to the foreign minister to review all diplomatic relations with Guyana. Mr. Speaker, Decree number 1787, published in Venezuela's official gazette number 40.669 and dated May 26, 2015, had repeated that country's baseless assertions that the entire Western Essequibo was a zona en reclamación, and restated its quest for a salida al Atlántico, access to the Atlantic. These two claims, one on land and the other at sea, have been at the heart of Venezuela's geopolitical strategy towards Guyana for over 50 years. On official maps generated by the National Organization for Rescue and Maritime Safety of the Aquatic Areas of Venezuela, a non-governmental organization, indicate that the claim would encompass a large part of the maritime zone sited off the Demerara coast, in which the United States firm ExxonMobil discovered oil earlier in 2015. Decree number 1787 created the notion of the Atlantic coast of Venezuela. This geographical fiction purports to justify the extension of that country's sovereignty over Guyana's territorial waters in the Atlantic Ocean off the territory of 5 regions of Guyana and over a distance of 200 nautical miles, thereby completely blocking Guyana's access to its own exclusive economic zone. The decree also created the so-called areas of integral defense of maritime zones and islands, extending Venezuela's sovereignty even into part of Suriname's maritime space. The decree, of course, violates the word and spirit of the 1966 Geneva Agreement that forbids the claiming of new territory while the agreement remained in force. Article 5 of the agreement states inter alia, and I quote, "No new claim or enlargement of an existing claim to territorial sovereignty in those territories shall be asserted while this agreement is in force." nor shall any claim whatsoever be asserted otherwise than in a mixed commission while that commission is in being. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the Venezuelan government, therefore, had no right, either under the Geneva Agreement or in international law, to oppose exploratory activities by ExxonMobil and its subsidiary, SO Exploration and Production Guyana Limited, in the Stabroek Block. Venezuela had no right to demand prior notification, owing to the fact that the specific area of operations in the Stabroek Block is located in a new maritime area over which sovereignty had been claimed by Venezuela. The action taken by Venezuela's foreign minister in February to write to the country manager of the SO Exploration and Production Guyana Limited and to object to the dispatch of a rig to proceed with the exploration for petroleum in accordance with the concession granted by the government of Guyana, therefore, constituted an unnecessary and unlawful interference in Guyana's sovereign jurisdiction. Guyana's sustained efforts to alert the international community of the adverse effects and to seek the repudiation of Venezuela's unilateral and illegal delineation of maritime territory, not only in relation to the territory of Guyana, but also other states in the hemisphere, have come to fruition. Guyana has never used aggression against any state. Guyana has always embraced the principle of the peaceful settlement of disputes. But inasmuch as we are a peace-loving nation, we will not allow our territorial integrity to be threatened or violated. We consider Decree 1787 as constituting an act of aggression against Guyana. In response to the decree, my government sought the solidarity of the regional and international community. The Commonwealth was one of the first communities to express its support for Guyana. In a statement issued on his arrival in Guyana, the Commonwealth Secretary General recalled that at the last Commonwealth Summit held in Sri Lanka in 2013, the community had reaffirmed its unequivocal support for the maintenance and preservation of Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
All right, viewers, unfortunately, we had to cut that, but not to worry. As soon as I wrap up my program, you will hear the remainder of His Excellency President Brigadier David Granger yesterday to the Parliament regarding the Venezuela decree and the issues surrounding that entire issue. But unfortunately, my time with you is up for today. I want to thank Ms. Supriya Singh-Bodden very much for stopping by. Of course, she is a recent CCH Awardee. That's the Classic Crown of Honor. She's also the founder of the Guyana Foundation and one of Guyana's very prominent political figures, even though she's a bit quiet at times, so you can look forward to hearing much more from her. Again, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Gary Best, of course, Admiral Gary Best, who is the Presidential Advisor on the Environment. He was called off to not one but two emergency meetings, but I promise you that I'll have him on the program in one of my future programs. I am Malika Ramsey, thanking you very much for joining me. Join me again next time. Of course, as I always urge you, be good Guyanese citizens, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And of course, stay tuned to Channel 6 for the completion of the President's presentation, the President's address to the nation via the Parliament yesterday. Bye-bye.
Sovereignty and territorial integrity.